Aloha and welcome to Capital Connection with your host, Senator Angus McKelvey. I'm your moderator, Tom Blackburn Rodriguez. Our guest today is Charlene Schulenburg. Charlene was raised on Maui and is a St. Anthony graduate. She got her BA from Santa Clara University. You may know her from her dad, Lee Schulenburg, who was the manager of the old Woolworth store at the Maui Mall. After college, Char became a model, actress, director, screenplay writer, and the CEO of her own production company, Well Living in LA, before moving back home to Maui in 2010. Since returning home, Char has been busy. She is a member of many Maui nonprofits and was recently elected president of the Kihei Community Association. She was the chairperson of the Bisson movement that helped Mayor Richard Bisson get elected. And now, the host of Capital Connection, Senator Angus McKelvey.
Aloha, everybody. Aloha, Tom. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to another episode of Capital Connection.
And welcome to you, Senator. I know you are busy because I have the schedule of the 2024 legislative session, and I'm just marking off days with X's. And I notice that there's something called triple referral coming up from the House and the Senate this week.
Yep, triple referral. That's the first deadline. Multiple, like a relay race, if you will. It's the first deadline, first hurdle of the legislative process, where if a bill has been referred to 3 or more committees, it has to have been reported out to the second committee by then. And normally on the Senate side, we don't use triple referrals at all because our committees are smaller and we're a smaller body. We tend to do slashes or joint hearings together. So what would normally be a triple referral in the House of Representatives side is usually a double on the Senate side. But for the House members, this is a big deadline because many of the bills on their end get triple referrals, and they have to make the first committee by today. We file.
Now, there have been a number of Senate bills already heard. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the numbers in some of the bills?
Well, yeah, on the Senate side, we've had 46 committee hearings since the start of opening day of session. And as of yesterday, we have heard over 223 bills. And there's plenty more coming. We're trying to crank on trying to get as many ideas in motion as we can. And to buy the time in the legislative process to continue the busy, earnest work of trying to coordinate with stakeholders, the administration, the counties, et cetera, especially when it comes to the Lahaina stuff, right? I mean, but this is all of the stuff. I think 223 bills. That's probably one of the busiest clips I've seen in a while.
Now, of those 223 bills, not all of them, of course, will pass, but they have to go through the process of being vetted by the committees. And you have even more bills coming, is that right?
Oh, yeah, we have more coming. Today there's several, we'll talk about later. And we've got more coming up. And then usually the money committees will try to, take a look at the bills and look at the fiscal impacts and such. And they'll add changes or what they call defect data bill to make sure it goes to conference. But for the most part, they'd send it on over to the House, to the other chamber. And so that's why there's a good chunk of these bills should probably make it on over to the House side, we're hoping.
Senator, there was one bill, SB 2977, regarding unlicensed contractors. What was that?
Yes, this bill just passed. This bill tries to clamp down on what has been an ugly phenomenon that's occurred in every disaster area, which is waves and waves of unlicensed contractors who come in, and many of them offer sweetheart deals or all sorts of different things to do work for people who, are frustrated or they feel like they want to get a jump on things, or they feel that it'd be easier in dealing with them. And so what happens is, they come in, they do shoddy work, or they go ahead and only do part of the work, or they don't do any of the work. And it's led to a lot of properties ended up being flipped for sale, because the owner has no way to rebuild at all. So this bill here seeks to put criminal penalties on unlicensed contract work during a federal disaster declaration, which allowed the county prosecutors and attorney generals to file charges for that.
So this is a situation where, like, oh, my brother-in-law is a contractor; he can help you out, kind of thing.
Or yeah, or I'm a guy. I know a guy from Texas. He's a contractor. Yeah, out in Texas he is or was.
Uh-huh.
And then but how much did your insurance pay you? Great, he'll do it for that.
I see.
And 300,000, boom, done. We'll get the supplies, materials. We have it all covered. Don't you worry. And then all of a sudden, obviously things start to, go downhill. Even if they do the job, and we saw this on Kauai, the unlicensed contractor activity, because of Aniki, resulted in a lot of structures, having to be redone because they wouldn't pass permit inspections after the fact. So, so this is why, yet another reason, health and safety of people. I mean, of course, the ability to be able to rebuild and reclaim what was lost, all of that. So to lose it to an unlicensed contractor. But part of what feeds this activity is the shortage of licensed contractors. And of course, having the feds who are doing most of that kind of work for many property owners moving along at a good clip will help to hopefully get more people to stay with the core instead of going that IC route.
So you're probably saying to our listeners, if a contractor or someone says they're a contractor, let me see your license, let me see your business license, that kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And if you're like, I don't know, you can always call the Contractors Licensing Board or the DCCA, and they have for instance, there could be a situation where a person had a license, left, let it expire, and came back, and they still have their CL number, showing it. Hey, I'm a contractor. So, I mean, these are the kinds of things that consumers, if they have any questions, you're talking about a huge, huge commitment here. So it's one of those things like a second opinion from a doctor, right? It's always good to double check before you sign anything.
There is one other piece of legislation that I understand you're a primary sponsor on, which is SB 2908, which is a rent increase prohibition after the emergency declaration expires. What is going on with that one?
Well, this is in response to what's been going on all over Maui. I mean, it's the fact that we've had rents now because of FEMA fever and other things, have spiraled out of control. And to go ahead and to set a cap based upon, in this situation, it's a cap set on the date of August 7th. But it allows for, obviously, the kind increases to occur if it goes beyond a certain period of time. But the idea is that as of August 7th, what was being charged was good enough to be covering what was needed because they wouldn't be in a rental agreement, right? For that amount. And so I think it's very fair to say, okay, we just need to turn the clock back to August 7th and try to cool off the market, But part of the issue, of course, this has been exacerbated by other pressures going on as well. But this is what so this is what we're looking at for this one.
And I've heard of some landlords who are approaching their renters who have long-term leases, annual leases, and trying to get them to change into month-to-month short-term leases. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I have. We brought it up to the Attorney General's office and to the governor because they still can amend the proclamation now. I mean, even though we're in session, the process of passing bills takes time. But that's something that I plan to follow up on with the bill we just talked about as a possible vehicle for amendments to potentially be able to capture that from happening. There's other measures, too, which seek to put things, give the governor authorization through the emergency proclamation over some areas. However, the challenge is the language is permissive, or he may or may not do it, or they may or may not do it. And obviously, these kinds of things like mortgage forbearance, rent freeze, all of these things that are needed should automatically be a part of a provision for emergency proclamation.
Senator, there are a number of bills we can discuss a little bit later on the program, but I would like to let you know that Charlene has called in and is on the line, ready to be interviewed and have a conversation with you. Charlene.
Aloha, Charlene. How are you doing?
Hi, Charlene.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Wide awake.
Doing okay?
We're wide awake, Charlene.
Well, I had to set my alarm, I have to admit. To make sure I wasn't going to be late today.
Oh, excellent. Well, so thank you so much for coming and joining us this morning and catching up and letting us know of all the good things that you've been doing out there with the Kihei Community Association. So you're with the Kihei Community Association and on your many endeavors. Can you give us a brief snapshot for people who may not be familiar with the KCA?
Absolutely. So KCA is the Kihei Community Association, and they've been around for a very, very long time. I don't know exactly how many years I've been serving on the board, but it's quite a few, probably, I don't know, 8 to 10. So I am currently the president, which I was truly not expecting. I had to go serve jury duty, and I don't know if you guys have heard this funny little bit before, but they've said in the past with boards, don't ever not show up for the day that they're voting on things, because they will vote your okole in. And so I am now the president. But having given it some thought, I'm actually super excited because we have a very energetic group and some wonderful new board members that have joined, and of course some long-timers that we're so grateful for their service that have been going on forever. Notably, Mike Moran, who has been around and showing up for every testimony known to mankind on Maui. So that's a hard act to follow.
It sure is. I mean, he's been a stalwart. I mean, like you said, he's been testified pretty much on everything under the sun. But that kind of vigilance, is what makes the KCA.
Well, and that kind of care, right? We all care about Maui, but what are you willing to do about it? And so, he's really showed up big time. So I'm going to try to follow it, and we've got a very busy, active schedule planned and some fresh ideas. But the very first one that's coming up, and the timing couldn't be any better, and it's called Vision Zero this week, this coming week, and it has to do with, we're really trying to educate and promote that there could be zero fatal traffic, fatalities if we could just be a little safer on the road. And so there's kind of like a 7-key goal action plan. And one of them is to eliminate impaired driving, of course, to create safe speeds, eliminate distracted driving, create a safety culture, a culture of being safer on the road, build safe streets for everybody, institutionalize, the Vision Zero concept, and improve data to support our decisions. So we're kicking that off as one of the sponsors of many. We really need to thank Pam Eaton at MPO, Maui MPO, for putting this together. But Maui County is supporting us, of course. Hawaii State Department of Health, Ulupono Initiative is one of our sponsors, and they'll be providing food on our big Safety Summit Day, which is Tuesday, February 13th. And this is going to be at the Pro Arts Playhouse in
it's great.
Makai.
Right there.
Azeka. Azeka's Makai. And then we also want to thank the Hawaii Public Health Institute and an organization named HEAL, HEAL, and of course KCA is one of the sponsors. And so we're kicking off a bike tour on Monday, February the 12th at 9:30 a.m. And to participate in this, you simply need to go to MauiMPO.org. And besides the bike tour, the summit itself with all the kind of information and guest speakers is going to take place Tuesday, February 13th from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And then that Monday that we're kicking it off, there's also going to be a walking tour that afternoon at 1:30. And so everybody can sign up. Go ahead.
Is the walking tour like a survey? I mean, is it like a way for people to walk and kind of give recommendations or observations or collect data? Is that what is it centered around, or is it more of just trying to get people to appreciate traffic safety and
I think it's a little bit of both, because the people that are going to be conducting the walking tours, they're visionaries, and they're coming in. They're people that really care about Maui and have come in and out of Maui for years, and so they have a a gift of being on streets and envisioning, how this could be safer in a particular intersection, for example. And so we're really excited because I haven't done this before, and I'm curious to find out. But it sounds like it's a little bit of everything. And there's a couple more walking tours during the week. There's one on Wednesday at 8 a.m. And one on, and then another one that Wednesday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. The main thing is you've got to, sign up and register, because there's limited amount of people that they're going to take, for example, on the bike tour. And so everybody, they want everybody to register.
Yeah. One of the things, this is amazing. This is going on. I mean, I think that it's going to be to hear from the experts and to be able to walk with people who have this kind of visionary thing will, be a real asset to the South Nile community. But infrastructure is part of what ties into the Vision Zero. And infrastructure, obviously, is a big thing. And then, what are your thoughts insofar as highlighting this, or even the KCA's efforts on the North-South Collector Road?
Well, that's what, I guess this is part of why it couldn't come at a better time. I mean, let me just back up a second, and I want to say that I'm just sending Lahaina so much love right now, and Lahaina is going through something unimaginable. But in relation to that, Kihei is in crisis. But no matter what crisis we're dealing with, it can't be comparable to Lahaina. So I'm not trying to do that. But what I'm trying to do is bring awareness to Kihei's issues, because what has happened is Kihei has now been thrust into being the economic driver of Maui. And so we need to be aware of what is going on in Kihei, and what is going on in Kihei are the repetitive floodings, and the fact that we've got our South Kihei Road, half of it fell into the ocean and it's basically closed, and we're having to repair that, and we're grateful to the county for working on that. But no matter what it is that's happening here, we have to admit that we've got to focus on public safety right now for Kihei. It's at the forefront of everybody's mind. And so to have a North-South Collector Road be the focus of the next, construction that goes on in Kihei, we really need to focus on that. I mean, we need that road not only to alleviate traffic, we need that road as an escape route for fires and for flooding and for any other emergencies that come up. So we're really going to be putting a focus on infrastructure in Kihei, and how can we help the county get the Maui, the North-South Collector Road made. I mean, we've just got to get this done. There's no more, discussion about it. We just have to do it.
I completely agree. I mean, that's been the subject of the MPO meetings. And to your point, it's like, okay, it's been funded, it's on the STIP. What's the what's the status? And the county.
Yeah, what are the holdups?
Yeah, the SMA keeps coming up.
The
SMA. We granted an SMA thing last year, and the feds helped to kick in for that, to build that connection by the school. But to your point, it's like, okay, is this something the current administration in the county could try to expedite under the EP right now, given the fact that this alignment's pretty well settled, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's just something we need to do. And so if there's anything that, Kihei's people and KCA can do to help, the administration get this going, hey, we're here. What do you need help with? I heard recently that there's still some, I guess you have to get some approvals from some of the neighbors in the area. Hey, we can go door to door. We can talk to these guys.
That's exactly it.
That's something. What do we need?
Yeah, exactly.
To do?
Well, exactly, and that's where Maui County DOT, Mark, can hopefully be like, okay, these are the people we need to reach and utilize the KCA to go on the ground and get a hold of them, like we did with the right of reentry in Lahaina with the Native Hawaiian community.
Yeah. So so that's at the forefront of our minds, but also just general fire prevention, safety measures in general there, and then also, how do we mitigate our flooding? So, I have to mention that I'm a co-founder of the South Maui Save the Wetlands Hui, along with Burning Kalani Kau, and we want to thank the county and OED for the grants that we've received over the years. We started our work in 2019, and I bring that up because the wetland work is truly one of the only active line of defenses we have to try to help mitigate some of the flooding. And the reason is because the wetlands serve as our kidneys, and so they absorb water. And when the wetlands are saved and they're not being built upon, and that we can restore them so that they can function at their highest level, and that means pulling out invasive plants and making sure that the native plants are thriving there, that acts as a big sponge and a big absorption area for the flooding, the major storm waters that come rushing off of our watershed slopes of Haleakala. And we've been working on this since 2019, and we've made a difference. We're going on our third grant now, and again, very grateful to the county and for the community for supporting us, because we do a lot of cleanup days and we do educational walks every other week. You can go to savethewetlands.org, and our lead scientist, Robin Knox, heads the group. And so we bring everybody out from Keiki to, we just got a call from the AARP, and they want to be focused on trying to help us. So anybody can join, and it's healing. It's healing work when you get out there in the lepo and you get your hands dirty and you really pull up those invasive plants, and that's the least we can do right now. There's several other things we're doing through the wetlands work, which is water quality measurements and water flow monitoring, and we're expanding our whole program, and we're going to be actually introducing a workforce program whereby interns can join us and get paid. It's a paid internship program, so we're just waiting on when we can start that. That's another grant that we're waiting for. But I do want to mention that we are working with an incredible group called Pili Koko, and they are a 501c3, and we are becoming a land trust, and we don't have a lot of land trust options.
We reached out to them too because of the amazing work that they've been doing. So that's great news to hear they're pursuing that model.
Yeah, they're wonderful. It's a Native Hawaiian group, and we're waiting to hear if we're getting our full Native Hawaiian status officially. But we work on conservation, preservation, restoration, and education for all of our natural resources here on Maui. So, and that's for in perpetuity. Thus the land trust aspect of it. So we were really blessed by being given our first two pieces of wetland in mid Kihei. By a very generous neighbor, Bryce Buchanan, who is a wetland lover, and so it's off of Waiahuli Avenue and South Kihei Road, and so we just picked up our first two pieces, and so congratulations to Pili Koko for that.
Yeah, that was great news. I mean, you see, all the things, plus the fact that had this native species that were considered to be gone for decades all of a sudden reappearing, and invasives basically being pushed out, which is an amazing story in and of itself. But to your point, it just does serves as a flood control thing. It's a buffer for fires. It creates protection. Yep. It also helps to ensure the health of the ocean water there. To the intertidal area.
That was kind of the vision when Vernon and I first talked about it. It was, okay, what's the area in Kihei? Is there a corridor of area that can still be preserved, that hasn't been overly developed and built on? And when we're looking at the maps, we could see there is a lot of greenery, especially in this Keokea, Waiahuli, Ahupua'a area. And so we decided to focus and start there, and especially because I personally work with the Laie wetlands, because I'm one of the only actual adjacent neighbors to the wetlands, Mulivai here in Laie. So it's my kuleana, and that's how this kind of all started, and we wanted to expand that. So there's also wetlands that people don't realize are a little bit drier, that are across South Kihei Road there. It's their Mauka of the Laie Mulivai, and we've been doing a lot of good restoration work up there, and we've had third-party people come in and, that do studies to examine, how effective has our getting rid of the invasive plants been. And we actually, they did mapping, actual, aerial mapping, and could show that once we removed the invasives in some of this drier, Laie Mauka wetlands, the native plants came back like on their own.
Yeah. It's crazy. Wasn't it amazing? That blew my mind. I took a video of it because I was with the kind out there, and he showed me. And that, at the same time, the invasives were dying off, and the native ones were coming back, and some UH guys even came out. It was
crazy. Yeah, we fully expected we were going to need to plant, but as I have learned from some very Akamai Hawaiians out there, there's native intelligence right below our surface, and there's probably an innate or an inert seed bank of native plant. Native plants just waiting to be reborn, and just by giving them some breathing space, they came back in full form, and we were able to actually measure some of the absorption that is going on, that is better in that area. So we're looking to expand. If there's anybody out there that has wetlands that they would like us to work on, please contact the Save the Wetlands Hui, and let us know, because we would love to expand and have more wetlands available to us. We work with private owners, of course, that give us permission, and they're on our insurance policy, so everything is on the up and up and safe and fabulous there. And then, but we also, want to work in our parks, and we want to work in some of our other public spaces that need some help as well. So we're raring to go, and we're just grateful that we've gotten the support that we've needed from the county, and also from the community. Sometimes we do, cleanup day, shout outs, or, hey, come join us. And we've had sometimes 50 people show up. So In fact, one of the, we met with them about trying to possibly do a grant and aid, this legislative session, and they were like, not this time. They were working to your point of the status and other things, but focus. Really, a key passion has been educating young people and having them be a part of it, and making it an educational component. Insofar as the restoration work goes, is that something that you see as an extra value to the wetlands restoration of what they're doing and elsewhere? Well, that's where we're headed. If we don't educate, who's going to do it? I mean, this has to be built in. When we say culture, and I don't just mean Hawaiian culture, it has to be built into our mindset culture of how do we malama? How do we malama our aina? How do we malama our kai? How do we take care, and what can we do? And if this is something that keiki come out and do on a regular basis, then that builds that muscle memory in, and that brain connection into this is important. We need to go out and take care. And so it's just, it expands our vision of how we can love Maui and take care of it better. And when we love Maui, believe me, Maui loves us back. And so we just, this is just a wonderful thing that we're doing. And there are other groups, out there doing stuff as well, but I wanted to mention those few organizations. And then I did want to mention too, KCA is also focused on helping the cesspool system up in Maui Meadows. And there was a presentation given up there by one of our board members. Yeah, and they've got a petition started, or a sign up started to show the kind of support that that neighborhood needs to show in order to start to get some funding and focus on getting those cesspools switched out and helping.
Definitely. I would definitely urge the county to pull down their state wastewater revolving fund monies for this project. In fact, there was a good chunk of change, according to the Department of Health Environmental Branch, that didn't get pulled down last year. And so that's an avenue of readily available funding. And then, of course, it was touched upon briefly at the meeting of a CID to help. So, but between those two sources and perhaps the involvement of, we have a measure this year that may be able to help too, insofar as getting Agribusiness Development Corp to fund them for R1 deployment and reservoir activities in South Maui. So all three of these together could potentially provide the opportunity to finally get that done, which is long overdue, to your point.
So Angus, how can KCA be of more help in that area? Do you need us to write letters?
Help us lobby the county council for the state wastewater revolving fund monies. We're going to work to see how much is going to be tracked down to Maui's share. And then, of course, we'd be more than happy to work with KCA on this and everything. I mean, a lot of the bills we're doing are been born out of the great meetings KCA had, both out of fire prevention, the flooding, North-South Collector Road, trying to basically create, and some of the issues you talked about, Kihei is now not only a center of economic activity, but there's a lot of spillover effects that are occurring there. Especially with insurance and other things. And then we have a big insurance that we'll touch upon later today to try to address this situation. But Kihei is bearing the brunt of this as well. And so that's very much on top of our minds right now. But for the municipal one, we'd be happy to work with you on trying to advocate with the county. They've been very good on this. And of course, the North-South Collector Road, too. But one of the things that has come up, the emergency proclamation, like North-South Collector Road, it could probably help. There's been a concern that some of the new development, especially that's been, poised to be used, the EP may threaten wetlands or remove them in South Maui. Do you think that the county and the others need to be careful if they're going to be looking at development that's going to take place in areas where we have the wetlands right now?
It's imperative. We cannot let development happen in our wetlands. We've already lost too much. I mean, when this came to my attention, I read a study that it was a group called SHIMCO, or actually it was a father-daughter research team. And they came out with some data that basically said we had, to begin with, 200 acres of wetlands to handle our 50,000 acres of watershed back in the day. And we have lost, according to them, probably more than 90% of our wetlands. And this is part of why we're having some of the flooding issues that we are. Look, it's not the only reason, but it is a big reason. If we had those 200 acres, believe me, even with these, storms that have increased in size and velocity and frequency, we still would have better absorption. And so our overdevelopment in Kihei has contributed, unfortunately, to this situation. And we really are the only line of defense between that brown water and it going onto our coral reef and coral shelf here that takes up all of our Kihei area here, our South Maui wetlands are vital. They're vital. So if anybody is knowing of development. I mean, we unfortunately we have had to speak out loudly and firmly and testify against some projects that were actually really good projects. They just weren't good in the area in which they were going to go, which were wetlands. So we still need, of course, affordable housing and workforce housing and all that good stuff, but we cannot do it at the expense of taking away our wetlands. So if we only have 10%, we only have 10% of our wetlands left, we ought to be better stewards. We ought to be extremely, aware of what is coming up in terms of development in our area. So, Angus, if you know of
That's
any
why
of this,
the new North Kihei town plans that quote unquote got dusted off from the 80s, being all of a sudden back on the table because of the EP is concerning, because when the area was pointed to me, it looked like it was one of the larger wetland areas still in South Maui, and so that's that. And then we tie back in North-South Collector Road, right, into the whole conversation about density within the core.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, when the North-South Collector is built, it shouldn't just be, a hardscape, land, road. I mean, it needs to be, with the biking and the greenway around it.
And that ties us back to Vision Zero again.
And back to Vision, exactly. So full circle, but, I don't want to rag on that, that Kihei town plan from the standpoint that there really are going to be affordable rentals that come out of that we have very few of. The issue there is they need to be more aware of the wetlands that do exist there. Those were mitigation ponds.
Exactly.
And they're supposed to be buffers. They're supposed to be buffer areas. And unfortunately, I don't think that those are being heeded to, and that's something that we need to get in there and point out in the nicest of ways and say, hey guys, we ought to be following these. We have new wetland protection laws. Ordinance 5421 went into effect it got passed in September of 2022. I don't know how we can encourage the county to implement that law quicker, because everybody's like, oh, we have to wait for the wetland overlay maps. No, we didn't. We can use the descriptors that are in there. The mapping were just supposed to be tools that assist the county in deciding, oh, okay, look, you can really see there's a wetland area here versus you couldn't quite determine it before, yada, yada. But I'm concerned that that some permits have been given in some areas that wouldn't have been given had they been actually enforcing the law that got passed. So that's another thing. I've got a lot of issues. KCA's got a lot of issues to talk about and trying to make our Kihei community better and get us out of crisis.
Charlene, this is Tom Blackburn Rodriguez. Good morning. Very interesting conversation. I drive on South Kihei Road, and I by the church that I attend, and I see a big sign up that says, volunteer to help with the wetlands. So it's very grassroots. But my question is this: as the population in Kihei and South Maui ages, a lot of people are walking, but we don't have sidewalks to walk on.
Right.
Can you tell us, does the KCA have any plan to put in, make sure the county puts in the sidewalks are necessary for like elderly folks to be able to take a walk and that kind of thing? May not be driving, but want to get out and take a walk. Any plans on making more sidewalks available?
So that's actually been one of Kihei's biggest soapboxes for years and years and years. And I do know that an area of sidewalk was promised during the Victorino campaign, and we haven't gotten 1 inch of it. So we need to make this administration aware of what promises were given in that way, and how to encourage them to work on that as well. But again, when you compare, we need sidewalks, but all this, we've got people in Lahaina that don't have places to live. So how do we balance that? How do we find a way that it all matters and it's all important? And can we walk and chew gum at the same time of trying to help Lahaina and trying to help the rest of our island?
Well,
because again, it's not just Kihei. The whole island needs help in so many ways.
Exactly. Well, there's specialized funding available for sidewalks, and part of the strategy for Lahaina is trying to use much federal funds as we can for the rebuild. And the idea is, with the county support, we can build back better by overlaying it. But one of the mechanisms, I think that would be great for KCA, and I think Vision Zero kind of highlights it, is there's never been, to my knowledge, a master public strategic plan on sidewalks, on the timetables, where they're at, while they're held up, when this next phase is going to be, what's going to be phased next, and it's been kind of ad hoc. Do you think that that's something the county could do to help work with KCA and others at the community level on getting this going, so to speak?
The whole definition of Kihei is ad hoc, to be honest. And, I know that CPAC just reviewed our community plan for the first time in some crazy number of years, 20 or 25 years. And so we've begun, the processes of having to go over things like this. I was not on CPAC. My husband was, and he came on as a replacement for someone who stepped down, so he came in a little bit late. But I know that all of this has to be reviewed at the Maui Planning Commission level, and I would just like to encourage the administration to really get a Kihei member that actually lives in Kihei onto that commission. It's an ordinance, and we had somebody, and she does a great job, but she's going to be coming off of that board soon, and there really needs to be. We have so many people that care about Kihei that have put their applications in for this. We really need a Kihei representative. This will make a difference when we're having those conversations, if this is going to be reviewed at the Planning Commission level at the next stage. I'm hoping we can all be more aware of it, and that is a good question. How can we encourage? How can we help? How can we be part of the solution to helping the administration with everything that's on their plate? And there should be, there were going to be millions and millions and millions of dollars of Build Back Better infrastructure funds. So I'd like to know, where are those, and can we get a handle on those? That was before Lahaina burnt. That was before some of this. That was before
the burn. It's a grant formula that the DOT and the state and the county have to pull down. I think that's where part of the money came from for the connection, for the road connection down by the school that they're going to be doing to connect by the park. But to your point, this is to know what's available and what's out there and what hasn't been pulled down and what might be pulled down. That's critical.
Exactly, and I'm not familiar with that. I need to bone up on this. Maybe I could give you a call and we could, you could teach me a little bit. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all that you do. And I know we're probably running out of time, right?
Tom,
you've got about a minute left. Take your time. Take your time. You've got 60 seconds.
Okay, I just wanted to say to everybody, please support Angus and everything that he's doing. He's, he ran from the fires himself. But on top of that, I do want to add, I was Mayor Richard Bisson's campaign chair, and I want to say something publicly. We all need to support our mayor. And I know that people are frustrated, and I know people are hurt, but we need to move from hurt to hope, and then we need to start to heal. And I know that our mayor cares about Maui so deeply, and he too is hurting, and people are attacking, and people want to point fingers, and I know we like to, as humans, blame for tragedies and look for reason. Why did that happen? What did we do wrong? I just want to say out loud, please, everybody, let's all work for the good of Maui. And let's find what we can do together to, lift our spirits and support our mayor in this horrific situation that he's having to deal with and that all our government officials are having to deal with. That's my last thing that I'd like to say. I just think that, he too is hurting and he doesn't talk about it. But he's a human as well. And I know that he's working his okole off and he's in before anybody else and he leaves after everybody else at that county building. And I know he is giving his 100%. And no, it's not perfect. And yes, there are difficult decisions, but let's try to, let's try to figure out how to lift each other up and be supportive as opposed to being critical and difficult all the time, because we've got to look for the solutions and we have to be the solution.
Well, thank you very much for that comment.
Right there
obviously,
it's
heartfelt.
That's been I can tell you that's been since the beginning of legislative session, the take we've been taking. And, the mayor's been a great partner in trying to pivot with us to address the issues micro and macro on keeping the community together and keeping the damage from spilling over. But, the county's roles, some of which have been thrust on them are not really their kuleana. So us coming back in to be able to assist through the legislative process will hopefully help take some of that off of their shoulders as they move forward with everybody.
Well, Senator and Charlene, it sounds like a great partnership. And one thing that I'll just add, and before we move on to the next segment, join the KCA. It's a tremendous organization. I joined it as soon as I moved to Maui. And as a matter of fact, my membership is up. I've got to renew it. So if you have a membership, you renew it. If you haven't joined, join. Thank you very much, Char.
Saved my last throw for me because that was the last thing on my little list, so I can cross that off. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Char.
Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I'll give you a shout so we can talk more later about some of the things we discussed and other things that KCA is doing, okay?
Senator, you had mentioned something earlier about insurance work that's coming down one of the fire bills. We have a few minutes left in the show. Would you like to tell the audience what that's all about, the SB 3230?
Sorry, go ahead.
SB 3230.
Yes, that's nicknamed the Insurance Omnibus Bill, and it tries to address many things that are going on because of Lahaina, as I touched upon earlier, it's spilling into South Maui and other areas, and pretty much California had to deal with this with their fires, and so many of it's taking a page from their books. And one of the most important aspects, I think, is the mandatory extension of a thing called additional living expenses, or ALE, and that's what people are using right now who've been displaced by the fire to live in rentals, and that only lasts until August. And once that is up in August, given the pace of things, despite efforts to the best, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to all of a sudden be put back in a real hard place again and not having a place to live and being able to afford it. Because many of these places were negotiated much higher than they normally would be able to do it at. So this seeks to follow California and extend it. The other thing that the bill does is seek to go ahead and have them use predictive modeling for insurance rates and not just historical data. That could skew rates and make them very high in areas like Lahaina, for instance. And then there's also a part of it is looking to try to get the insurance commissioner to be more advocacy-based instead of just a regulator. In particular, in trying to be more aggressive in helping people, whether it be through hiring additional case managers or contracting out to that, or representing them insofar as getting adjusters out and using new technologies to speed up claims. We want to see the insurance commissioner be more of that entity than just a regulator, which has been their traditional role.
Senator, is there a public hearing scheduled on this bill?
Yes, there is. A public hearing that's on this measure going on here. And it will be, there's many measures coming up here in the next 24 hours. It'll be, schedule will be held today at 9:35.
So 9:35, people can still go up online and read about it.
They can go on YouTube. The Senate has a YouTube channel. All of the hearings, past, present, and future, are there. And you can see that hearing live, or you can watch it later. You can watch the hearing on all the bills on YouTube. So definitely look up the Hawaii State Senate page on YouTube to watch the committee hearing live. And, of course, you can always chime in with testimony, too.
Senator, we have about 2 minutes left, and I have something on my script that says Ag Day, 3 exclamation marks, Thursday, tomorrow. What's up on that?
Ag Day is one of the days we have what they call exhibition days, where different stakeholder groups will come and just to basically show people what they're doing in a certain area or industry. And Ag Day is to highlight Hawaii's own ag industry across many things. Organic, grow your own. All of that is represented. And Senator Tim Richards, who's been a good friend of Maui, who's from Big Island, Waimea side district. He is a rancher himself, and so he helps to put it on. And so the word is that he's trying to go ahead and get a cow and actually bring it out on the state Senate floor. Now, the word is they were trying to convince him that the cow would wear diapers, right? And to let on the floor. But then I, of course, made the smart aleck comment, well, why bother with the diapers? There's plenty of that stuff lying around there anyway.
I've been to the Ag Day several years ago, and all I can say is I do remember food samples. So if you can attend,
they will have that, I guess. But really, they have like exhibitions. They have demonstrations of the different things, especially the UH co-op will be there. We have Maui ag people there.
Senator, we have just 1 minute left. Can you quickly tell people how to contact you before we go off the air?
Yes, 808-586-6070 is the phone number. Send McKelvey at capitalTOL.Hawaii spelled out.gov. Instagram, Facebook at Send McKelvey. Please give us a shout. Questions, comments, concerns. We're here for you.
Thank you very much, Senator, for a great show. And tune into Capital Connection every Wednesday right here on KAOI at 7 a.m. Aloha!